Steelers, ranking our favorite or giving our 2 favorite and least favorite off seasons so far. And this is going to be pre-draft. You're not going to be held to this. If somebody goes and does something in the draft that you love, Noah, you can go ahead and change what you would like. But this is just going to go down to coaching, hiring, firings, talent acquisitions, free agents, how the roster is shaping up before the NFL draft, and could a strong NFL draft set this team over the top. Do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
I'll go first with my first favorite offseason. You're going to hate it, but I love what the Pittsburgh Steelers have done this offseason. I don't love the quarterback situation, but I actually really like the names that they've added. I like the cornerback from Tampa Bay, Dean. I think that he's going to come in there and be solid. I like that they added Jaquan Brisker in that secondary at safety. He's a guy that I wanted them to sign in Philadelphia. I really like the addition. I think they needed another wide receiver. I think trading for Michael Pittman was worth it. And then Mike McCarthy. Now, at the time, I think we've talked about Mike McCarthy a lot, and I don't know if he was the right coach at the right time, but I think he's still a decent coach. And I think if they continue to build the roster a little bit better, if they continue to build the roster at this rate, I think that they're going to have a decent amount of success. And then they also signed Rico Dowdle, who I thought that was really solid for Carolina last year. So I really liked what they have done thus far this offseason.
I guess my first thing is this team's so slow. Like DK Metcalf is obviously on paper fast, but he's a big body wide receiver. Michael Pittman Jr. is pretty slow. Rico Dowdle isn't a burner. You're going to add Aaron Rodgers back as the QB, obviously, just based on how they're moving. And it's not that I don't think they also signed Sebastian Joseph Day, Darnell Savage, Asante Samuel Jr., which he wasn't ever going to play football again because of his shoulders, but he's back. I guess where I hate some of the moves is why can't the Pittsburgh Steelers ever look at themselves in the face and say, we are not going to win a Super Bowl as currently constructed? What do we have to do to get out of this spin cycle that we've been in for the last 10 years where we just win just enough games to keep us irrelevant? And I think that they needed to, when the Tomlin left, I wanted them to hire maybe a young head coach and make something happen. Yes. They go and hire McCarthy, which is again, he's just good enough as a coach to keep you irrelevant in long term in the NFL. And I feel same thing with Aaron Rodgers. I wanted to see them move on from Aaron Rodgers. Didn't do that. Didn't make any particularly big swings here and there. Although I do agree with you. I like some of the names that they added within the free agency. I do think it shapes out their roster a little bit more, but I don't think that what they have done, I'm viewing this team as somebody who potentially could even win a playoff game, because you're in a division still with the Ravens and the Bengals. And listen, me and you have the same agreement on the Bengals. Let's see them do it. They've been living off hype for the last 5 years. It's almost pre-pandemic since they've done anything. But they're always liable to snap, just because if Joe Burrow can somehow stay healthy forever once in his life, they might be relevant. And the Ravens are going to be good if Lamar can stay healthy, because last year in a division where the Browns sucked, the Ravens sucked
Everyone sucked.
And the Bengals sucked. They won 9 games?
I know.
And lost in the first round of playoffs. It's if there was ever a time to take it up to the next level, it was then, and they couldn't do it. And I fear that they just might be in the exact same spot still. But I do agree with you. I think that they've made moves in the right direction. The Michael Pittman one is just sneaky, honestly, at the end of the day. The fact that the Broncos traded a first, fourth, and third, fourth for Jalen Waddle. It's but Michael Pittman was available for a fifth round pick swap or something like that. It might be even been later.
Yeah, the Michael Pittman trade was The Steelers gave up a 2026 6th-round pick, and they got Michael Pittman and a 2026 7th-round pick.
Like what a trade, honestly. You know what I mean? It's just those little and same thing. Like if and I don't know why I'm thinking of the Broncos right now, but the Broncos go ahead and re-sign J.K. Dobbins, like sign Rico Dowdle. Like he's a more attractive player. So yeah, I agree with you. I like Brisker, Darnell Savage, all these players. I've liked what they've done. I just don't know if I don't know if I'm feeling it. I don't know if it's giving me much conviction with long term or even this season, honestly, if what they can do. What do you think their ceiling is right now?
If you pencil in Aaron Rodgers as their quarterback, I think that this is a team that can win a playoff game.
Okay.
I am. I mean, I'm gonna let this simmer and I'm gonna let this one cook in the oven for a little bit longer. I need to see how the draft goes and whatnot for the Steelers and the Ravens, but I'm close to making some picks about the Steelers team depending on how this draft goes.
Dude, I think I'm not joking. I think that's insane. Like no troll.
But at the same time, I was also looking at this through the lens of, are the players that they brought in better than who they had there last year? And I think Jaquan Brisker is an upgrade. I think that they upgrade the secondary. I think they upgraded the secondary with those other moves. I think that Rico Dowdle is an upgrade over Kenneth Gainwell. And I think that adding Michael Pittman is an upgrade over whoever their other wide receiver 2 was. I don't even know who it is.
No, you're 100%. You're 150% right. I'm not arguing with you on that at all.
No, I know. That was just like where I was coming from with this thought process. Like, I really don't know what the Steelers are going to be, but do I like the way that they have improved their team this offseason? Absolutely.
All right. Well, we can agree to disagree. We might come back to that at some point. I'm going to give you my first one, but I'm going to tell you which one I hate. And that is the Indianapolis Colts, because why are they all in? Why do they continue to allow Chris Ballard run this team? And we've gone over this countless times. Yeah. Just in the last 10 years since Andrew Luck's retired at quarterback, the bad casting of the QB position that they constantly try to fulfill. And there was just a few things that like really confused me. One, and it dates back even to the season. You go ahead, you start the season 8-2. You thought at that point it would be a good idea to trade for Sauce Gardner. You give up 2 firsts for him. Then almost immediately afterwards, Daniel Jones goes ahead and tears his Achilles. And even before he tore his Achilles, he was on a downtick. They lose 2 straight. He tears his Achilles. And you go from starting a season 8-2, where everybody was sitting around being like, what is going on with the Indianapolis Colts? They're balling this season. And you finish the season at 8-9, and Phillip Rivers and Riley Leonard was your quarterback. Then we go into the offseason, and I guess where there's 2 main signings that I want to talk about is, one, the Daniel Jones signing, which was 2 years, $88 million. One, who were you bidding against? Who were the Colts bidding against in this Daniel Jones sweepstakes to allow him to? The first offer was thrown out immediately. His camp throws like, oh, we're not accepting that number, blah, blah, blah. It's just like, who else was in the market, in the Daniel Jones market, off of a torn Achilles? Nobody.
I really don't think anybody is chomping at the bit to give Daniel Jones a contract.
Why not exercise your rights at this point? Like, I just felt like that was a little weird. Maybe franchise tag him, transition tag him, whatever that might be. Didn't like that move in any way, shape, or form. And then the other move that really made no sense to me is like, Alec Pierce signed a 4-year, $116 million contract. Alec Pierce is a decent player, but why would you let him break the record for a free agency wide receiver number for somebody who's like, okay? Like, I just don't understand where they were thinking of that, where their thought process was again, is like, if somebody is willing to pay Alec Pierce that much money, let them pay that much money. And if he's that good, then whatever. I don't think that Alec Pierce has a massive season. Like, if you were to ask me right now, would you rather have Alec Pierce or Michael Wilson? I'm taking Michael Wilson 10 times out of 10. So like, I don't understand why he drawed so much like interest on the open market. And I get it. I do think he's a good player with saying all of this, but 4 years, 116 million, so bad. They don't have first round picks. Daniel Jones is their quarterback. Somebody that I thought that they should have explored bringing in was Kyler Murray. I felt like it was like, dude, honestly, at this point, like Daniel Jones, let's franchise tag you. You're coming off of a torn Achilles, and let's just keep him around because you can even franchise tag him the year after next as well. And he's always been like, he's always hurt. He's always like, Daniel Jones has a long laundry list of injuries his entire career. Why not bring in Kyler Murray for $1.6 million? I thought he would have been an interesting match with Shane Steichen and Jonathan Taylor. I just felt like that would have been like an underrated spot for him to land, but it seemed like no matter what, their eyes were set on this. So like, I just absolutely hate that the Colts just went all in on this idea. And if it doesn't work this year, everybody's getting fired. I mean, these are big time moves with big time money attached to it. And I just don't foresee this team even being a playoff team. If they weren't able to make the playoffs last year with an 8-2 start, even with Daniel Jones getting hurt, I don't know. I just don't like this team at all. So I give this like literally an F- on the offseason.
They have to think that Daniel Jones is capable of playing how he did for those first 10 games for an entire season. And the thing with Daniel Jones has been like, yeah, he's battled some injuries, but he's been a very like average quarterback in his NFL career. So like, opening the checkbook for a guy like that, although he did have success in the moments that he was healthy with you guys, I feel like a lot of people outside of the Colts organization and probably the fans were almost waiting for a moment of like, when is Daniel Jones going to come back to earth? Because he was playing really good football. And unfortunately, the coming back to earth was him getting injured, which that does suck. But like, I wouldn't be so quick to jump to open and give him that type of contract. And then the Alex Pierce,
especially off of an Achilles. Holy shit.
Yeah. When additionally one of his biggest strengths is his mobility.
Yeah.
And we've seen how, I know he's not as old as Kirk Cousins and as old as Aaron Rodgers, but like, we've seen how these guys with torn Achilles have come back at the quarterback position. I think it's a little different when you're in the NBA or at another position. But like, for some reason, these quarterbacks have come back and have gone down significantly in mobility. And that was a thing that played in Daniel Jones' favor throughout his career is, okay, he can make some plays with his legs and he's going to keep you honest with them. So I don't love it. The Alex Pierce situation is Alex. Sorry,
Alex has Pierce, a name.
It is a C. The Alec Pierce situation. If somebody was going to pay him that much money, more power to him. Like you basically said,
let him walk.
The Patriots were interested in him for, I think, probably the same amount. And he or more. I think the Patriots were actually interested in giving him like what, $30 million a year. And I think he took less to stay in Indianapolis. I'm not entirely sure. I'm not entirely sure why. Maybe I can't remember if the Michael Pittman trade was prior to him signing this deal or not. So maybe he looked at it and thought, okay, well, I've been here my career. I like this offense. Michael Pittman's gone. I'm going to be the guy here. Like maybe that was the thought process. But I'd much rather play in New England with Drake May and solidify myself next to him for the foreseeable future versus however old Daniel Jones coming off of torn Achilles and a GM that has proven that he struggles figuring out the quarterback position.
I'm right with you. You can give your next one.
I'm gonna go with a bad offseason. This first one is gonna be the Miami Dolphins. There's not really a ton to say. I think that Jeff Hafley is gonna be a terrible head coach.
They're screwed.
I think that them going and signing Malik Willis to a 3-year, $65.5 million deal with $45 million guaranteed is malpractice.
Yeah.
This is a guy that has been a career backup in one of the smarter offensive-minded head coaches in the NFL. On top of that, they're getting rid of everybody on their team.
Yeah.
We just saw them. We lost him. We just saw them trade Jalen Waddle. Tyreek Hill got cut. And then I did see there was a report that they're keeping Devon Achane, which,
Thank God.
listen, I think Devon Achane's a great player, but if you're cutting all of this money and trying to clean house, one, I don't understand why you just paid a guy $45 million guaranteed at the quarterback position. Although it's not massive, don't get me wrong, but like with how poorly they have been financially, paying a guy that's been a backup quarterback that much money to be your starter doesn't seem like a great idea. And hiring a guy that has a bad track record as a head coach doesn't seem like a great idea. So I think that they would have been better off. Just give Quinn Ewers a chance at quarterback. You're going to end up with a first overall pick in Miami, and get rid of all these guys, trade away everybody, suffer through the dog shit season that you're likely going to have regardless of that, but you don't have a $45 million guaranteed quarterback on your books. Suffer through it, get the first pick, acquire as much capital as you can, and go from there. Instead, they almost went like the opposite direction of what you're trying to do. They like didn't go full into the rebuild, because I don't think that it was smart for them to sign Malik Willis.
I have nothing to add. I mean, you're right. Awful off season for them. They're going to be one of the worst teams in the NFL.
Yeah, they are, and they are going to be one of the worst teams in the NFL. And they could have done it without giving $45 million to Malik Willis.
Yeah, for no reason. He's not going to be the quarterback there long term anyway.
No, if you're the Dolphins, you save the money. Instead of paying a quarterback, maybe you try to invest in some younger guys along your offensive line. Maybe that's
defensive line,
or the defensive line, right? Like maybe that should have been their plan. And you look at it and you go, okay, well, our offense and defensive line have improved a little bit. We feel a little bit better about where we're headed with Arch Manning next year. Or
the team building philosophy is weak.
Yeah.
Very weak. The next one that I have on my list, I'm just going to give another hate before I get into love, and that is the Washington Commanders, and I think that'll probably be viewed as a question mark because they made a ton of moves. But what in the world are the Washington Commanders doing? Because if you just look at their roster top to bottom at every position, are they above average at any position at all? Offensive line, defensive line, running back, wide receiver, secondary, linebacker, like quarterback, you can make the argument, but like, let's see it with Jaden Daniels outside of that one season where he wasn't that good last year. And then you go into their signings that they made this offseason. It's just like Odafe Oweh, 4 years, $96 million. Clavion Chason, Leo Chanel, Chiga Konkwu, Nick Cross, Tim Zettel, Amik Robinson, Charles Omenihu, Rashad White, Jerome Ford, Van Jefferson, De'Ami Brown, re-signed Chris Paul, re-signed Marcus Mariota, re-signed Andrew Wilkins, re-signed Traylon Burks, Dietrich Wise, Drake Jackson, Shy Tuttle, Jake Moody. They're not a good football team in any way, shape, or form. And I feel like everybody saw all of the moves that they made this offseason. And I think that, like, we've said this before, time and time again, the teams that are making the most signings throughout the offseason during the free agency period are usually the worst teams in the NFL. And there's a reason why they're signing all of those players. And the reason that these players are even on the market is because they're not as good as people think, because the way that free agency and contracts and the NFL and everything is set up is that teams who have players on their team are incentivized to re-sign those players long term. So if you get to the point where you're letting somebody go, it's because you really have no fit for them on your team, period. So I just don't like, I've read the list of names. None of those names are that good of players. And then combining that with the roster that they have currently, this is just not a good football team. So I think that, like, again, like the Commanders, I think people will be excited about them going into this season, but I'm just not at all. I think that they're still going to be one of the worst teams in the NFL.
Yeah, I don't get how you can be all that excited about this roster on paper. Like you said, are they above average at any position? I don't really think the answer is yes at any of these spots. Like, don't get me wrong, like Terry McLaurin's fine, but aside from him, it's Treylon Burks and Luke McCaffrey. This offensive line is a mess. They
cut Biotish, which was wild.
Yeah. The kid from Tennessee that they signed had some moments, I believe, last year, but like not necessarily like that crazy of a playmaker or anything. Jaden Daniels, who knows what you're going to get with him? He was great his rookie year, but was banged up last year. And then the Rachaad White move, I actually don't mind it, because that running back room was I mean, there was Krosky Merritt, and he had a decent year, but like other than that, it was very quiet. But
Rachaad White
was a backup.
He's fine.
He's fine. Like, he was a backup in Tampa Bay. So I'm right there with you. I think that I don't think people are going to look at this team and think they're going to be good. I don't know how you can, quite frankly, because I think that
Jaden Daniels, people are going to be fired up about Jaden Daniels.
I don't think the Eagles got better this offseason necessarily. But I do think that Dallas and the Giants are both going to be better this year. And I don't think that the Commanders are going to be, there's a shot that the Commanders are the fourth best team in this division. So
yeah,
they have some work to do in the draft, but I'm not loving the moves that they've made so far.
I'm with you. Go ahead. You can go next.
My other hate is the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah.
No,
you don't have any arguments from me on
the Bob Saleh, Brian Dable era has started, and I have vouched for Brian Dable for a while, but I just don't see it. I mean, they gave Wan'Dale Robinson 4 years, $70 million. He was good in New York, but like, this wide receiving room isn't great. They tried to make some moves and improve this offensive line. We're going to see. They signed Cordell Volson, Austin Schlottman to 1-year deals. I just really don't know. I think the biggest thing that throws me off is them adding Robert Saleh. I just don't think that I think he's just a career defensive coordinator. And my thing is, they tried to like counteract the defensive minded head coach with the experienced offensive coordinator and offensive minded like coordinator type guy. You know what I'm trying to say? Like Daboll has had his career pretty much as an offensive coordinator, and that's where he's been best. I just don't see it. I really don't think it's going to go that well. They changed their jerseys, which is cool, but like, that's the most exciting thing about this Titans offseason to me so far. None of these moves make me think that they're going to be something like a team to look out for. Like, we have those teams that go from like worst to like middle or top. I don't think it's going to be the Titans.
Another one that confused me is like, you have so much money. And you watch what happened with the Raiders. The Raiders went and spent so much money on players because they had a ton to spend, and they might have overspent on somebody like Tyler Linderbaum. But Tyler Linderbaum's a good player. Why sit on all that money that you have? They barely made any moves in free agency. And listen, I just sat here and said like, oh, knock the teams that do it. But the Titans need guys at some point, like on this team. And somebody like Tyler Linderbaum, who's like a really good center, they should have offered him they should have backed up the Brinks truck for somebody like him. And
like Vegas did, yeah.
I just feel like they didn't do that with anybody to try to make a big swing, and the roster just still is in a really, really bad spot.
Yeah, let me pull up their depth chart as of right now, just so we kind of have an idea on like a position by position breakdown. So right now it's looking like Alec Ayumanor, Calvin Ridley, and Wan'Dale Robinson are that wide receiving group. And don't get me wrong, I thought Wan'Dale Robinson was good in New York, but like he's not a guy that I want to sit there and say, yeah, I love the fact that I'm paying him 4 years, $70 million. He's like
awful receiving core.
He's a glorified slot guy. And he had a good year, don't get me wrong, but like I just don't think it's going to work out that well down here in Tennessee. Now, maybe they make another move with the draft. There's been some discussions about them taking maybe a running back out of Notre Dame. I don't think that is like the deciding factor on if this offense is going to be good or not. But do I like Jeremiah Love? Yeah, I think he's going to be a good NFL player, but I think that they need to improve elsewhere before spending the 4th overall pick on a running back. And we'll get into that later, but like that's kind of where I'm at right now. Offensive line, they paid Dan Moore Jr. last year, like an absurd amount of money for no reason. And their offensive line is just very average. Defensively, they added Jermaine Johnson, John Franklin Myers, Alontae Taylor, and Cordell Flott. I'll be honest, I only know Jermaine Johnson, and he came off the defense that didn't have an interception last year. I know he played edge, but like the Jets defense sucks. So like, I know it was a trade, but
his guy. That was his guy when he was in New York. Cordell Flott's decent, but it's nothing. They didn't get any of the big dogs.
No, with all that money, they didn't land anybody that makes me look at that position and go, yeah, I like that a lot better. So,
you want me to go next?
Yep, go ahead, and then I'll give you my other favorite offseason.
I'm going to start with my favorite offseason, my first one. Sorry, I keep sneezing like crazy.
Bless
you. Thank you. And that is the New York Giants, which at this point, how could you not be excited? Then you go ahead and you land probably the hottest coach on the market, the most accomplished coach, a Super Bowl winning coach, somebody who provided an extremely safe floor in Baltimore forever. And you add him to a team that, if you just look at their depth chart on paper defensively, they have a nasty defensive line and some nasty edge rushers and depth at the edge position. Their secondary is extremely slept on. I think their safeties, Tyler Nubin and Javon Evans, are good. Paulson Adebo is really good. They added Greg Newsome in free agency this year, who's a good player, who was on all of those good Cleveland Browns defenses. And then this is also on the back of, yes, Malik Neighbors is coming in off an ACL. We'll get him back this season. Cam Scatabo came off of a broken ankle. We'll get him back this season. But this is also on the back of Jackson Dart, who actually was promising last year at times when he was healthy. And
when Dable didn't try to run him into a brick wall.
Yeah, with being a dynamic athlete on his feet, and I think that he can sling the pill a little bit. And then I want to just mix that with all of this, with adding Harbaugh and all of the things that they already have in place, including having a top pick in this year's draft, adding Isaiah Likely, who I love at tight end, adding Tremaine Edmonds at linebacker, who they needed when they cut Bobby O. They cut Bobby O.
Yep.
And get significantly younger at linebacker. Then you add Darnell Mooney and Calvin Austin at wide receiver. Darnell Mooney is a decent player. Calvin Austin's a decent player. I'm not saying that they're incredible, but just sneaky signings. You add Pat Ricard. I'd already talked about Greg Newsome. I just really like what they did overall. Now
they added Jordan Stout.
Jordan Stout. I think what's interesting is what could potentially happen with them in the draft. What do I want them to do versus what would happen? I think that they solidified that they're not going to take a wide receiver at the top of the draft. And I think that that's smart because why would you take a wide receiver who's going at what pick do they have? 5?
Yeah, they're at 5.
Why would you take a wide receiver in the top 5 who is automatically going to be a wide receiver 2 to Malik Neighbors? It just doesn't value wise makes no sense. There's a ton of good receivers in every single draft. You can, if you really want to take somebody, you can take him later. And damn, he might end up being pretty damn good. The question is now, do they go offensive line, which I think that they should probably do, or they have also been the Jeremiah Love team as well that they could be linked to. And I think that on paper, I love that move because it's like, I like Cam Scatabo, but he's coming off of a broken ankle. I think that Scatabo would be better as a complementary piece than a workhorse.
I agree with you.
And I think that having both of them in the backfield would be a positive. So I'm split. I think if they take an offensive lineman or they take the offensive weapon as well, I think that it could be double. It's like double positive. I think that there's really no downside. I love this team to actually win this division this year. It's something that I've been texting you and saying to other people. It's just they're going to have a last place schedule. I feel like the moves that they made have been really strong. I feel like they already have a strong roster in check, and they bring in a coach who's proven it time and time again. I just love it. I love everything about what they're doing. I'm excited to see what they do in the draft. And yeah, I mean, this is probably my favorite offseason so far.
Some of the offseason signings too, they are restructures as well as Evan Neal, they re-signed to a 1-year deal. Devin Singletary in that backfield too. Like, I can't remember that other running back's name, Tyrone Tracy. He kind of got the short end of the stick in New York. I thought that he was a decent running back when he was given the reps, but be that as it may, I agree with you with the Scatabo thing. I think he is going to be much better as like, I would look at it in terms of how the Lions use like David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. And like, I think he would be better in like more of a David Montgomery situation where he is still making an impact on the game, but you don't need to give him the football like 20 times a game. I think that if they do go Jeremiah Love, which that would be terrifying, I think offensively, if you add him, I think those two is a very, very solid backfield and is similar to the Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery backfield when they had it in Detroit. So I think that there is a world they take him. Is there a world where you think that they take another defensive player and are just like, screw it, we're going to put together an absolute demon on defense and add Sonny Styles? Because Sonny Styles has been talked about a lot. He might get picked earlier than 5, so he might not even be there.
I think he's good. I think that they're a firmly offensive team. I do.
Yeah, that's fair. And I agree with what you said too about taking a wide receiver. I also don't think there's a guy at wide receiver where I feel that good about him being like taken 5th. Like, I think there are good wide receivers in this draft, but I don't think any of them are worthy of being a top 10 pick.
No, I think that there will be ones that are a top 10 pick for teams that it makes sense for, but why would you, like I said, why would you bring somebody in that's going to be a wide receiver too automatically and take him so highly? It just value wise, it just doesn't make much sense.
Yeah. I think the smartest thing would be to go offensive line for them. Yeah. And just protect as much as you can. Protect your young quarterback. We saw how they like to run the football in Baltimore when he was there. I think that played a big role into why they brought Patrick Ricard over. So I think it's probably going to be offensive line or running back for them.
Yeah, go ahead. Give me your last one, then I'll go.
My last one is the Las Vegas Raiders. I love the signing of the head coach. I think he did a great job as the OC in Seattle. I think pairing him with Fernando Mendoza, um, this past year has made me completely change my mindset on quarterbacks and who I think can win a Super Bowl. And I'm not saying that I think Fernando Mendoza can win a Super Bowl right away, but um, I think that he brings you a safe floor. I'm penciling him in as their draft pick, but I know that it's kind of unfair.
Yeah,
But
that's who they're taking.
um, regardless, I like the pieces that they've brought in. I honestly like them keeping Max Crosby if they can figure out how to mend that relationship with the front office. Because why would you ever want to let one of the three best edge rushers in the NFL walk out of the building? Um, so I don't. I like them still having him. I like the Tyler Linderbaum move. I like Quay Walker. I like them pairing him with N'Kobe Dean. I do think that we talked about it earlier, how they still do need a wide receiver. I think that that's an area that they need to address. But these few guys that they have added badly, but I think that these few guys that they've picked up so far are solid. I think that they're going to be a much better team. And I think that
and you
I
mentioned
really like their head coach.
mentioned the two. You mentioned the Quay Walker and the Kobe Dean. Like,
yep, yeah.
It's just they signed good players. I agree with you. That was a team that I had on here and I crossed off because I was picking somebody else, but they're right up there. I like what they're doing. They're getting good players. There's obviously holes all over this roster that still need to be addressed, which is like fair to say, but it was like the opposite argument that we had on the Tennessee Titans, where it's like Tennessee Titans took zero swings. It's like once honestly the Raiders got back Max Crosby, I was like this team, they're pretty solid this offseason. I like that they kept him, honestly, and they ended up getting him back. And we'll obviously watch it play out. But yeah, if they can figure out something at wide receiver and to just help bolster up Mendoza, because again, it's just like Deontay Thornton's not good enough. And yes, you have Brock Bowers. Yes, you have Ashton Genty, but you need somebody a little bit more reliable at the wide receiver position to help your rookie quarterback. And I think that they will probably try to find a way to address that. But everything else that they did, I completely agree with you.
Yeah, and they have the first overall pick, which is going to be Mendoza. And they have another pick in, I think they pick 14. They have two first round picks, right? I'm pretty sure they do.
I don't think so. Do they?
Are they one of the? There's like a few teams that have first round picks.
Where'd they get another first round pick from, though?
Maybe I'm tripping.
No, they lost the second first round pick with the.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Ravens.
Yes, that's right. Sorry. So okay, so either way, they're still getting a guy in Mendoza who I think is going to be able to come in there and play competent football right away, but they are going to have to address wide receiver in this draft. They're going to need to get a guy or two because they're weak there. Obviously, we love Brock Bowers, but I think the biggest thing too is one of the biggest signings I think is Linderbaum, because you have a 3-time Pro Bowler in Tyler Linderbaum, and you're bringing him into a situation where you have a rookie quarterback. That has to make you feel so good if you're Fernando Mendoza, looking at like how this is set up for you this season, as far as, all right, I've got like a captain up front, literally right in front of me, one of the most important positions. And then you have a running back in Genty, where it wasn't great last year, but like the whole thing wasn't great. Like there was nothing
there still. Yeah. He's still good. He's still an exciting player.
Yeah. And I think he'll have a much, much better season this year. So I love the Linderbaum signing the most, probably.
I'm right there with you.
I also think Kubiak coming into is going to be massive. I think what we saw him do with Sam Darnold is. Listen, I honestly think Sam Darnold and Fernando Mendoza are eerily similar quarterbacks.
I've done this. I've walked down this road with the Raiders before. So just be careful. That's all I got to say.
I know. I'm tiptoeing.
My last one that I love, and it's really an opportunity for this player to complete one of the most miraculous sports stories of all time, and that's Geno Smith, and that is the New York Jets, which I think are sneaky having one of the craziest off seasons in a while. And I think that right away, I think it started at the midpoint of the season last year, where you go ahead and you trade for Adonai Mitchell, and you get another first. You get 2 extra firsts in this year's draft and the following draft by dealing Sauce Gardner. Then when the offseason starts this year, you go and you acquire Minka Fitzpatrick. You get Joseph Asai. You trade for Tavondre Sweat. You have Demario Davis, which I get it. These guys are a little bit older, but you need some, like, let's just say like adults in the room, essentially. You need them at some point. Again, and then you get Geno Smith as well, which, listen, Geno Smith isn't great right now, but there's no way he's as bad as he was last year in where was he? In Vegas.
Las Vegas.
Like 2 years ago when he was on the Seattle Seahawks, he won 9 games. He won 9 games, and the year before that, he won 10 games that year. And then the year before that, he won 9 games. Like, he's a capable quarterback. And then you go into this year's draft and you have 2 first-round picks. You have the number 2 overall pick. You have the number 16 pick from the Indianapolis Colts. And then from rounds 2 through 7, you have 9 selections. 9 selections where, yes, I'm not sitting here saying that like all of the players that they've taken and am I super excited about Geno Smith? No, not at all. But I think that there's like a world where like he's decent for them. And again, I said it like it started last season. Let's go back even 2 seasons ago where you take Olufashinu. Like, you take the pick where it's like, we got to eat our vegetables. We suck. We need to build up. We need to build up the trenches. We need to take Olufashinu. Then last year they did the exact same thing where it's like, all right, let's eat our vegetables again. Let's take Armand Menbu. Now you look at the Jets offensive line and they have 2 foundational pieces at tackle. And on top of that, you have listen, I'm not giving up on Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson's a damn good player. I think him and Geno Smith are an interesting duo this year moving forward. And you franchise tag Breece Hall. And I don't hate Mason Taylor was decent last year at tight end too. Like, I don't hate the infrastructure that they have along this offense in any way, shape, or form. I think their offensive line's pretty good. I think that their weapons are pretty good as well. And on the defensive side of the football, Will McDonald, Harrison Phillips, Tavondre Sweat, Joseph Asai, Demario, and I think that their Minka Fitzpatrick, I think that their team obviously has holes and needs to get addressed, but you're telling me that you have an opportunity to have 2 first-round picks. Like, do they take Sonny Styles? Do they take Arvell Reese at number 2? Then on top of that, you swing back around at number 16. Then from rounds 2 through 7, you have 9 selections as well, where you can gather depth along the defense. You can gather depth along the offense, where it's like you might have an opportunity to get 2 high-end players in the top 16 with Arvell Reese and whoever else they want to take at pick number 16 and be able to add some depth. I don't know. I think that this is like a recipe where it's like, obviously the Jets have let us down time and time again. I'm not saying that. Obviously, Geno Smith can go out there and look like a complete pumpkin, but like, this team has a lot of positive factors around it where it'd be like, could this team shock some people this year? And based out of all the teams who could potentially go from worst to first, which happens every year, I think the Jets right now, before this draft happens, because I think that there's going to be a point where they could take Arvell Reese and like, I don't know who else.
Mekhi Lemon is the other name that I'm seeing here. Add him to that receiving core with Garrett Wilson.
Like, I don't want them to take a wide receiver, but if they do, they do, I guess. But let's just say that they take 2 really good players. This could transform the team. And I think that they just are that team that could be like, wow, like I think the Patriots are not going to be as good as they were last year. We talked about it. The Dolphins are going to be the worst team in the NFL. like, could they be in the mix where they're second in that division behind the Bills? And I'm just giving the nod to the Bills at this point because of they have Josh Allen, but is there a possibility where those three teams are kind of sitting around the same record? And would it be shocking? I don't think so. What do you think? I'm nuts?
I think that it depends on the version of Geno Smith that we get. I think that's also though, like,
timeout. Do you think that what I just said about the rest of the genetic makeup of the roster on offense and defense, including the picks that they have in this upcoming draft, like, do you think that they could be at a point where this roster as a whole, outside of Geno Smith, is like pretty good?
Yeah, I think that if they hit on some of these draft picks, then yes, I think they have good players sprinkled throughout the offense and the defensive side of the football. I like the offensive line better. I like that they kept Breece Hall. I like the AD Mitchell and Garrett Wilson combo at receiver. Mason Taylor showed some flashes. I think on the defensive side of the football, although he's past his prime, I still think Minkah Fitzpatrick has some left in the tank. Let me pull up the rest of their.
Demario Davis is like a fucking like 20-time All-Pro or something like that.
He's a madman. He's a madman.
He's old, but
they also needed to make changes on defense too. There was just like some funk going on with that defense. Like, there's got to be something wrong where that you don't have an interception in a season. Like, no matter how good you are, you have to look at yourself in the mirror and say, like, all right, maybe we have to get rid of some guys here because there's no reason that we don't have an interception this year. So I don't hate them bringing in some guys and trying to switch things up. I still think that some of these guys have a couple years left in the tank. Now, will they be as good as they once were? I don't think so, but I think that it'll be a decent enough defense and a decent enough offense. Now, you head into the draft with 2 first-round picks. That's a great spot to be in. I think a defensive player makes the most sense. For some reason, when I said the Mekhi Lemon one, I completely forgot that they had AD Mitchell too, which you already stated at the beginning of this. I don't think they need to go wide receiver with that. Shit, they could go 2 defensive players here in this first round.
Simpson.
Or Ty Simpson. This mock draft is funny. This mock draft that came up had them taking Carson Beck at pick 140. My concern is this.
Please don't do that.
What happens if they're like I think there's part of them that wants to almost, like, you have 3 first-round picks in 2027, correct? If you're the Jets.
2.
One of them being your own.
Which is crazy.
Yeah. I don't know if the people are going to be all that upset if the Jets aren't that great again this year, because there's a lot of talent in next year's draft. But either way, you're still set up really well with 2 picks. I think that they put themselves in a very good position to improve this roster as much as possible over these next 2 seasons. And I think that depending on how this draft goes, they could add 2 really good players with these 2 first-round picks. And who knows, maybe they get hot somewhere else and they hit on one of these later round picks too, because they have 2 4th-round picks and they have 2 second-round picks. So,
that's a lot of top 100 players that they're going to be inserting into this building like immediately. And I get it. Everybody's like, oh, this draft isn't that good. And this happens every year, I feel like, where it's like 2027 there's a lot of good players, like, and then 2027 comes around and there's no good. Like, I remember when 2026 was coming around, it was like, oh, you got Garrett Nussmeier, Archie Manning, all these people. And then it's just like, well, they all suck. So I think that no matter what, like, this is crazy that you can add so many top 100 players to this roster as currently constructed. That's why I like the fact that, like, it's like, Demario Davis is old, but like, we have 2 first-round picks and 2 second-round picks. And it's like, and 2 third-round picks. And it's just like, well, we're going to add some young guys on this team. So let's sprinkle in some veteran.
Yeah. I am oh, we froze.
Sorry. But as I was saying, go ahead. What were you saying?
Your point. Well, no,
as I was saying, like having adults in the room where it's like Minka and Demario Davis and all that stuff to sprinkle in, like having good vets who have played like at good places, like with a lot of good players. Like I'm not against bringing those guys in when you have like the amount of like new, fresh guys, younger guys coming in like at an abundance. If they just did this with like no picks, it would be like, what are you guys doing signing these old ass men?
Correct.
Like, geez.
Correct. It would have been the command. We would have thought they were the Commanders.
Exactly.
I'm also like so out on just saying that certain drafts suck until at least 4 years after the draft is over.
I'm with you. I'm down to do that.
Because I think what happens is like there's always going to be good players in the draft, no matter what. And as a front office, it's also your job to do a thorough job scouting these players and figuring out which players are going to fit the systems that you run on offense and defense, where do you need to improve as a coaching staff in order to develop those players that will make your team better. So like, I think a lot of it is more so of the coaching around it and the development of these coaching staffs that matter when it comes down to these drafts. And I don't really think that's anything groundbreaking, but like, if there's always going to be good players is my point. Like you're never going to get into a draft and there's only going to be first round picks that are good. We see it every year. Yeah. There's some 5th round corner that ends up being a top 15 corner in the NFL.
There's Puka Nacua that goes in the 5th round, who's the best wide receiver in the NFL.
Yeah. I'm until 4 years have passed and we can look back and say, okay, we've given this guy and we've given this draft 4 years of football, we can finally make a decision on if it was good or bad. But going into it, I don't think it's fair to really rule out. Like, sure, maybe this draft isn't like heavy in one position. Like, I wouldn't look at this
it's
and
not
say
heavy QB. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But like, there's still really good players in this draft throughout, and there always will be.
I'm right with you. So, hey, those are our two teams so far pre-draft that we love their offseason and we hate their offseason. Maybe this is something we revisit when we're starting to do the preseason, but it's good to be back.
I just spit it. Good girl, we're getting paper as a passion. Collect the stacks and bring